Hey guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got one last video for you today. This is a video that I've been putting off for quite some time. It's something that I definitely owed to everyone and really should not have left it this long, 3 months at this point. It was just something that every time I tried to record it or try to think about it, I couldn't really wrap my head around it because of what the gravity of the video would be, or what it actually meant was, basically me stepping away from DC Universe Online altogether and stepping away from this YouTube channel. I've been in situations like this before. I mean, at this point, my channel now, almost 8.5 million views, over 26,000 subscribers, 740 videos. And this is the second channel. This is channel 2.0. Some of my longtime viewers remember my original channel, which got up to about 5,000 subscribers. I forget the number of videos, but and then deleted that channel as another attempt to kind of step away from the game. But I feel like it's time. And a lot of factors have led to that. And I guarantee this commentary is going to be disjointed. As you know, I'm not one to record scripts or anything like that. I kind of just speak off the top of my head because I could do that with DC Universe Online, and it's definitely led to going off on tangents in videos. But just because of how knowing the source material so well, knowing the history so well, I could openly talk about the game forever. But I feel like what's done me a disservice, or what the disadvantage I'm at, is that I've been here for 14 years. I've been playing the game since 2011, before I even joined the first league or what the game was. My roommates in university, I wasn't even one that found DC Online. It was one of my roommates who found the game, started playing it. Because we grew up on the DC shows, like the Superman Adventures, Batman, even Spider-Man, like all those, basically those, I remember it was called the Fox Box on Saturday morning cartoons. So I'd been around the cartoons and loved them as a kid and growing up. And then basically now there's a video game that basically is in that universe where you get to kind of play it yourself and have abilities and powers and everything like that. So it was intriguing from that kind of concept, being like a DC fan. Like I knew nothing about comic books or backstories, anything like that. The extent of my DC knowledge was always just the cartoon shows or the animes. But started playing DC, kind of got with myself in general. I've always been kind of like a competitive person. So, when I primarily grew up on like Call of Duty games, doing like game battle matches and stuff like that, I've always had like, a competitive nature. And when I first started playing DC, I didn't really, I was more just kind of the leveling experience, not really being competitive at all. And then I actually started watching videos on YouTube about DC Universe Online. And that's where I kind of started watching Odyssey, the EU League, and saw what they were doing. So, doing speed runs, beating difficult content or showing difficult content that, from my perspective, like doing like they're doing like FOSS 2 runs where, I was more just the pugging experience back then. So, if you tried to pug FOSS 2, sometimes it'd be like a 5 or 6 hour raid. That's how it would run into, just with the player skill. It wasn't so much that the raid itself was difficult, it's just, the type of players they run with. And that's what I started to kind of slowly gravitate more to, being that competitive player. I first started on the game my first character was named Hellspawn. It was a fire tank. It was more kind of like the cosplay angle. And then I made, when I thought I didn't know you could change your name back then. I thought you'd make a brand new character. So my beta character was Hellspawn. And then my actual real character that I started playing, I basically deleted that one, started a new one, which was Obsidian Chill, and it was Nice Tank. That's where basically the Obsidian comes from. I think I posted the video a while ago, but basically there's a character in Beast Wars Transformers where his name was a general and it was Obsidian. I just that name kind of stuck with me, and then Chill was basically just because I was ice. And at that point, then I became on the US server. Whenever raids couldn't beat FOSS 2 or couldn't get past the bridge or always struggled, I was the one that reached out to an LFG just to kind of save the run and get them by those spots. And, I enjoyed that. And then basically it kind of took off from there. So the big switch to where people knew me today as more, not so much today, but basically where I made my reputation was being a DPSer. That was DLC 3, when Battle for Earth came out, there was a big disaster release. I mean, you couldn't even beat gates. You couldn't get past the first room because they would bug out. You could do Prime Battleground, but because then there was that was when the rollless buff came out. So groups actually did better in Prime without a tank. So they were doing speed runs and everything without tanks because the whole 8-player group got a defense buff. So at that point, it was like, well, and even then, some of you remember the Battle for Earth DLC 3 gear actually had less defense for a tank. So if you leveled up your tank gear, you're actually worse stats than you were the episode before. So it was basically like a middle finger to tanks, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall for that, and that's when I switched to light, and then kind of took off from there. I love DPSing. I love the additional competitive aspect to it, not so much being competitive in the raid environment, but being competitive against other players. Doing DPS challenges. I can't even recall how many gates raids I did. Probably hundreds. I could easily do the gates raid blindfolded. I knew exactly where the spawns were, so I could do tap hold, basically like a hold claw for light. I could do right when they spawned. I could do the hold claw on them, get the max damage. And basically knew everything about that. And that's where I kind of took off from there. I literally joined the EU server, joined Odyssey because of kind of like, trash talking in the forums and going against their DPS in the EU side. So I joined as light and then met all those players there. So that's basically, and then writings on the wall. I gravitated towards leagues like Odyssey, and then became Inertia, Legacy, on the US server. The US server, I did more PvP back then from FAMI. FAMI had lots of success in PvP and PvE in terms of Origin Crisis. But, gravitating towards FAMI, then House of Badiatus. Then basically I found my stretch with Success, my first PS League. So the disadvantage, going back to what I was actually talking about, the disadvantage I was at was that I've seen the game throughout all these instances. So that's where, especially, I tried to push for the game to become back what it was back then. Engaging content, great mechanics that kind of, made content difficult and engaging and challenging. That's what I always wanted. That's what I was pushed for. That's what I was known for pushing for on the forums. And, throughout these different stages of the game, which led to a lot of like different development team issues where, they would have their own kind of say in the game and kind of fluctuate, and then the game kind of slowly turned into more like microtransactions and everything else, or like story based, all depending on the creative director at that time and the development team at that time. So I think what's actually done me a disservice, especially in the past few years, is knowing, as just being as an older player as I have been with this game, is that I remember what it used to be, and I'm kind of dwelling on the past. I'm living in the past. When I watch old videos on my channel or look at old pictures and stuff like that, I'm definitely living in the memories of DC, what it used to be like, and that's not the same type of enjoyment that I find now. Especially the past few years. Playing the game itself, I didn't find enjoying. What I did find enjoying was all the YouTube stuff. So doing like all the reviews, testing guide videos in terms of like power sets, different artifacts. That's where I found my fun, and that's where I found my enjoyment. I definitely spent more time on the test server than I did on live server for the past few years. That's for sure. Without even a question, I became like a test server main, which is funny, which is what I actually, made fun of people for in the past. And basically became what I hated, where, you didn't really try to play on live server, do Elite Plus and everything like that, but you played it all on test server. But that's where I found enjoyment out of that, and certainly found success. I was definitely actually, it was really the only channel that did artifact reviews. There's really no other channel that did that, certainly not into the depth that I went into. They may have just shown what the artifact does, some rotations, but never kind of broke it down. Same thing with artifacts, our allies, any kind of number crunching, because I know the time that went into it, like testing all those pets and henchmen and everything like that. That would be like literally over a dozen hours of worth of work, just because you have to do it multiple times, different testing environments, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's countless hours that go into my testing, and I didn't have a problem with that. Even if the video say wasn't successful financially or viewership wise, I'm still happy that I did it, because I knew at some point it might help a player. But now now the writing's on the wall. Certainly with this new development team, they don't want players like me. They don't want players to kind of question the game. They don't want players that want to try to have a voice or try to influence direction of the game. I mean, even they took away test server. I mean, they at this point, I haven't really followed up on the news in the past month or two, so maybe I know they talked about bringing it back and a select environment, select amount of players, but they're going to have like an NDA or have different things that they can say. So I'm not expecting absolutely anything out of that. Maybe the game gets tested, so it's polish wise for bugs and stuff like that. But I don't feel like the players are going to have any sort of influence on the direction, and they certainly are not going to be able to speak negatively or about their experience. I mean, just look what happened to me when I was in the Creator League and said that an episode wasn't ready. I mean, I was 100% fighting behind the scenes for that. It's not like that just came out of nowhere, but everything was ignored. I still spoke about it anyway because that situation was fucked, and then basically they kicked me out of the Creator League, which I mean, whatever, is inevitable. But I don't feel like I can be the player that I want to be with this development team. I mean, certainly it's not even practical. Not even practical. I've said this before in other videos. It's not practical whatsoever for me to be the type of player I am on live server. I would have to own every single artifact at max rank, every single ally at max rank. I would have to have multiple end game sets of gear for like controller, healer, tank, DPS. Also, I can properly test the way that I could on test server. Like, that's not even realistic. That would cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single month. And that's just something I'm not prepared to do. Maybe if the channel size would double or something like that, or like I said, or I enjoyed playing the game, because that's the same thing on test for. At least I can have that stuff granted, so it's ready to be tested. On live server, I would have to earn it all. So you're talking about either I'm spending additional multiple hundreds buying marks so I can get the gear, or I'm spending thousands on replays so I can run the content. Then I still have to run the content with pugs or people that I enjoy with, or league mates, at different times. So really, it's not practical. That they completely took that away, and that's what I mean. Obviously, they don't want reviews on their products. They don't want reviews on artifacts or reviews on allies. They just want people to buy it and then just treat it as a microtransaction. That's the game is certainly completely flipped from what it used to be. It's not. It's basically how they can get more people to the game so that they can start spending money on the game. That's the end game. And it's a business. I mean, obviously they're trying to make as much money with DC Universe Online. It's been a cash cow because DC Universe Online always had catered to multiple streams of revenue. So you have, what I mean by that is, you got the people that are the cosplays are there for the comic story. So they're going to spend hundreds of dollars on materials and time capsules and all that kind of stuff for styles or cosmetics. Whales are going to completely drop money on that because that's what they want to do. Then you've got the competitive side people that are going to max out artifacts, max out allies, buy replay badges so they can get their gear in the first week. So you have multiple different types of players that cater towards, so you have those microtransactions. Or you've got the players that just, like when they recently introduced like a year or so ago with the buying marks. You got people that aren't going to be available to play the game as much as or dedicate as much time to it, so they're going to spend $1,000 on marks and then have their gear where they want to be. And I'm sure that it's going to lead to other sources where there's going to be able to buy renown. So the point where it's going to be, and the topic with DC has always been, it's not pay to win. It's not like just because you have that stuff doesn't mean you can't complete content. There's no winning. It's basically just pay to for convenience or pay to skip essentially. So there's never been a true pay to win argument with DC Universe Online. There's nothing you can buy that's going to make you win. It just basically cuts down, save time, and that's basically how they can leverage it. But I don't have faith in this new development team. I don't have any sort of faith with this episodes. I mean, we saw it before with the first episode. Like I said, before recording this video, I haven't really looked at the new episode much, but originally it was basically like the solo or all the content was the same, just like the raid was basically just a carbon copy of each other. And I think that's what it's going to be into. It's going to be more focused on the story, not so much never going to be focused on the mechanics or engaging content, or Elite Plus is going to be like slept through and walked through again just because these developers they don't care, and they just want to get a product out. And then basically, once the product is out, they're working on the next product. And I mean, that's fine as a cycle. That's not the DC Universe Online I remember. That's not the DC Universe Online that I want to support. And that's okay. Like I have to realize that after 14 years, it's okay for me to walk away. I do have a ton of regrets, not just like in game, how I've acted, how I've interacted, stuff that's left. Like I still have a list of things I wanted to do YouTube video wise, but it just, I don't have the support for it from the team, and it just, I don't want to support myself doing it. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, but and there's lots of rejection. Like I hugely regret what happened with me and Success and Free to Kill. There's regrets I have on the EU side, but at the same time, throughout 14 years, I've made a lot of friends that I'm going to hold dear, those relationships. And a lot of those players have come and gone as well. I mean, you notice that when you've been around for 14 years, it's either players coming back saying, "Oh, I remember this Obsidian chill," or they remember from elsewhere, or the forums or on YouTube, or I still remember them and they're just coming back. So, I mean, I can't promise myself that I'm stepping away forever, but I'm certainly going to be stepping away enough to where if I come back, maybe the game is completely different then. But what I was on this channel, I don't think it come back. Certainly not with the test server gone or test server restrictions, because the type of content I make, so heavily revolves on that. Like I don't want to become a news channel. Like I'm not, it's not that I had any kind of YouTube rivalries, because same thing. I mean, no one on YouTube did the same thing that I did. There's obviously some DPS players, much better DPS players than me, that made videos. It made some quick guides, but didn't actually go into deep with the numbers, because I mean they didn't need to. I mean, they know the rotations are good. They've done all that kind of research. They just need to show them and explain them, which is completely fine. So, but there certainly needs to be some players out there that'll kind of pick up the slack and maybe do those in-depth numbers or enjoy that with the artifacts and allies. And because I mean the same thing was, I didn't want to get to a state where you're just buying it just to try it. But there definitely is going to be a gap where, but there's going to be YouTube players or YouTube channels that pick up the slack and have that type of content that I enjoy doing. They're going to enjoy doing as well, just in their own way. But we're coming up on like 20 minutes here. I didn't really know exactly what to say in this video. I just want you guys, everyone deserved an update to disappear. I mean, my bad habit is basically when I want to kind of move on from something, I kind of just write it off, where it's like, I'm not going to open up my YouTube channel. I'm not going to necessarily look at the comments. I mean, I kind of ghosted Discord for the past like month in my own personal life. So, if people be trying to reach me on Discord, that's why. It's a terrible habit in personal life and in the game, where I just kind of want to, it's the same thing happened the first time around. It's I'm repeating the same mistakes where, okay, I want to leave DC Universe Online. So maybe just, if I delete my channel, I won't want to come back. And then I deleted it and then like regretted it like a month later. So if anything, channel wise, I'm certainly not deleting it obviously, but I definitely will disable monetization just because it's I don't need 20 ads or whatever coming up per video, whatever it is. So I most likely would disable monetization just to make the channel more accessible for some people. But that's about it. I'll be still responding to comments. It's not like I'm going to ghost comments or turn off comments in the video. So certainly you can leave whatever comments you want, and I'll respond certainly to those. But I certainly may be more distant on the channel and distant on Discord than I have been. Which, I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, I wasn't really sure where to put this. I'm sure a lot of people already had assumptions and knew that I was going to be where I was or what happened. But I felt that I owed it to my community here to guys just let you know. But yeah, another one bites the dust. Take care, guys.